You said that, oh, I didn't give a metaphysical account of teleology. And, well, all accounts of teleology are really metaphysic. It's just what you mean to say by once you retconned by saying, oh, I meant a deeper account. A deeper account meaning something that would be maybe more metaphysically committing or more ontologically committing. And then those are the type of abstract views of teleology or some sort of teleology that would imply dualism or something, which I clarified I'm not committing to. And so me clarifying that it's a type of teleology that is compatible with physicalism, not really a metaphysically committing account or ontologically committing account of teleology, and I specify the degree of like properties that are baked into the account of teleology that I'm using, which has a title and is very talked about in biology and supported by biology. That's just to suggest the type of metaphysics that it's using. So your initial claim where you say that, oh, you didn't really metaphysically prove it. Well, I gave the metaphysics about the teleology type that I'm using, and then he said he agreed with it. And so that's the proof. When he asks, okay, well, why should anyone accept this account of teleology? And then I explain what it is, and then he says, oh, that's trivial. And by trivial, he means that, oh, I agree, and a lot of people agree, and it's pretty common. Well, that's him agreeing with the point that it exists. And then the second part, I mean, you're kind of just supposing that I didn't give an argument as to why it would be normative. And so I'm willing to explain to you the argument that I gave and how you didn't really have any contentions with it if you want.
Lucario, I just find it very funny that you want this on recording. If you actually want a recording, we can debate any fucking proposition because I blew you out on a previous stage. Since you want it recorded, a normal fucking conversation. But I'm open to debate you anytime. But listen, you just gibberated a lot. And you didn't attack what I was saying, and you actually misinterpreted me. First off, I never said some deep metaphysical thing was ontologically committing. I said a metaphysical thing would typically be something deeper. And in fact, when you brought up Platonism, I said, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not referring to some metaphysical thing as something that's inherently ontologically committing. So you just misinterpreted what I said
Damn,
to gibberate for 20 minutes
Lucario is
while
falling
permafusing
too high.
because you can't fucking engage openly because you're a retard. And third of all, no, you didn't give any fucking argument. We can rewatch the entire fucking recording. You didn't give it an argument for why it was normative. I'm so serious. We can go over the entire fucking recording on stream.
Just stop repeating yourself. And so, yeah, the first point that you made is that, yeah, I'm willing to debate on any proposition at any time. You stipulated both of these things. And so I'll just lock in the proposition is that Julian beat me, which I'm contending.
Oh
I could
yeah, you
defend
want
the
to do a meta
proposition that
debate because you're a retard, right?
stop interjecting. You said any proposition. Stop interjecting. So, yeah, that's the proposition. And I could defend, okay, well, I beat Julian. That's a proposition I'm defending right now, and then that's to satisfy the anytime part because you're here engaging very poorly, by the way, but you're still engaging. So that's anytime. And then you started talking about how I misinterpreted what you said. When you say, okay, well, you didn't really give a metaphysical account of teleology. No, that's a lot of the metaphysically committing accounts of teleology. Those are typically, um, more Platonist accounts of teleology or things that are more abstract accounts of teleology. And that's kind of what's implied when you say, okay, well, what I meant by that is, well, you didn't give like a deeper account of teleology. And so, yeah, you did use the term deeper. Even you had to retcon in your own rebuttal and concede that, you actually did use the term deeper. You can say that you never rejected that, but that's just going to be a lack of subject key awareness on your part. And so, one, I guess you could clarify what you mean by deeper, but anybody who's familiar with teleology and arguments for it are going to take that implication and suggest that you're talking about a more Platonist or ontologically committing account of teleology, and so you fumbled on that part as well. And then after that, we can talk about the arguments that I used, in which you're going to fumble again and again and again.
Listen, it's funny how you do this rhetoric shit, but you have to put me on mute whenever you try to get rhetorical because you get blown the fuck out whenever you have an open conversation. But listen, it's just the case that you aren't tracking, and then you try to make it like that was the standard definition. When one, I clarified when I initially gave and uttered the word deeper that I'm not using it insofar as some way that's ontologically emitting. I've always stuck to this, and I've been saying that. So that's just gonna be you misinterpreting me and then trying to make your misconstruction of my argument. I'm like, holy fucking shit. Like, you misconstrue what I say, and then you try to make it look like you're justified in doing that when each time I've said fucking deeper, I've clarified what I've meant, and it was never this platonic account, retard. So Lucario, instead of being a dumb fuck, just admit you had a tracking issue, and that's fine. And listen, we can go over the argument, but as I said, I don't have any recollection of any fucking argument in the recording. So that's why I offered to go over the recording and VC with you. Also, thirdly, I get that you want to meta debate me because you got blown the fuck out on abortion, which is your best topic, by the way. Why you're pro life, why was devil's advocating. But listen, we can have an actual debate since you want this recorded. And by the way, Anubis, send this to me
Yo, we don't care, pal.
because you actually suck.
We
Anyways,
don't care.
BB's my homunculus. But yeah, just go ahead and respond.
Okay, yeah. So if you paid attention to my last response, I said that I'd want you to clarify the term deeper. Your response is that, okay, well, I already clarified it, and I already told you that I'm not talking about X, Y, Z initially, even though that's not true. It's on recording. You didn't clarify it. And by deeper, also, when I introduce this term, I'm not talking about a metaphysically committing account. Now, evidence that suggests the contrary is that your initial statement was that, oh, but Lucario, you lost on this point because you didn't metaphysically prove teleology. You didn't give like a metaphysical account of it. I'm not sure why you used the term metaphysical here, because it seems like you agree that the account of teleology, specifically a teleonomic account, is metaphysical in nature. That's just what metaphysics are. Now you can't well, I'm trying not to be super mean, but I guess I don't really care. Even a dumb fuck like you wouldn't make the blunder that all accounts of teleology just aren't metaphysical, or any accounts just aren't metaphysical. So I'm going to need you to clarify one: why did your autistic brain feel the need to say that I did not give a metaphysical account of teleology, even though I clarified how it is metaphysical in nature? And then two, I need you to clarify what you mean by deeper, because anybody who understands, basic arguments for teleology, a lot of the deeper accounts, the quote unquote deeper accounts, are going to be more Platonist in nature. They're going to be more abstract accounts of teleology. And so, you not being familiar with common language in talk-ups about metaphysics and teleology, I agree that there would be a tracking issue on my part, because I'm trying to track like a level one chess player, and I'm trying to predict his next move, even though it turns out it's just like a 3-year-old just smashing a bunch of buttons, who has no clue how chess even works. And so, yeah, there is a tracking error on my part. I can't track that random ass shit.
Listen, so now that the gibberator that conceded he had a tracking error is done speaking, let's go over what you failed to track. Because each and every time you give an argument, you fail to track what I'm saying. So listen, Lucario, the reason why I said you failed to track multiple times is because I've been reducing down the concept. I'm not going to reduce it down any further because obviously each and every time I re-explain something and you don't get it through your thick head, that just shows me you have a cognitive faculty which fails. You literally have an error trying to track what I'm saying. It's so embarrassing. And listen, if you say I didn't reduce it like that, I'm happy to go over the recording that Anubis has. And finally, you keep fucking dodging. I have unironically never heard a response that we can go over the recording thing. Listen, we can go over the Julian recording right now, and we can put it on 2 times speed because it wasn't that long of a recording, and so we don't have to waste time. And we can see that you never gave an argument for the proposition Julian asked for, retard. And since I'm so clear and succinct, I'm not gonna gibberate like you. You can respond now.
Okay, yeah. So basically, the substance of that was you saying that you're not going to reduce it further, even though that was the first part of the second part of what I asked you. And by first, it's the primary thing, the things that I want you to clarify most. Another thing that I also want you to clarify, which you do not have the ability to, is why in the fuck did you even bring up the fact that I didn't give a metaphysical account of teleology? That was the first contention that I had with you. Then you brought up something more interesting by talking about well, you didn't give a deeper account, and there's this notion, these semantics of deeper that I'm also not going to clarify, other than just one simple negation. The negation is just the hypothesis of what anybody with social cue awareness would assume what you mean by deeper, given the fact that they had relative knowledge on teleology. But you don't, and so now I don't know what you mean by deeper. You're too terrified to clarify what you mean by deeper because you understand that the more commonly understood notions of deeper accounts of teleology are going to be the things that I've described thus far. You're going to keep saying, no, 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 you're not tracking, but I'm also not going to correct you because I don't have a counterpoint. I actually had no clue what I was talking about when I used the term deeper. You're just trying to gibberate because you kind of started off the conversation as a troll, hoping that I wouldn't press you on it. But now that you realize that I actually am going to press you on it, you're just going to pipe down. Now, there's these two questions, and I want you to just sink it in. Answer two of these just one of these two questions. I'm happy with either one because I know you don't have the ability to remember both of them at the same time. So just choose which question you want to answer, and then you can forget about the other one because you don't have enough gigabytes of RAM in your brain to handle those two tasks. The first question is, why in the fuck would you bring up a metaphysically account of teleology even though the account that I gave is metaphysical? It's a metaphysical account. You agree with that. So why did you bring up the fact that I didn't give a metaphysically committing account of teleology? Second one, what is your semantics of deeper? I need that question answered or the latter. Just choose.
You tend to gibberate for a really long time, and then you keep going on and adding nothing to the conversation. But listen, the reason why I said I wouldn't reduce the concept any further is because I literally think you have a cognitive faculty which stops you from tracking, because multiple times I've reduced the concept. And obviously, in a conversation where I reduce the concept multiple times and you just go over, it goes over your head like I never fucking did anything when I've done it multiple times. No one keeps doing that because that doesn't add anything onto the conversation. So I'm just not gonna play your stupid dumb fuck games where I reduce the concept. You don't get it multiple fucking times. And listen, I'm not adding anything fucking proprietary, so I'm not gonna reduce it down any further. And I've been clarifying that what I've said is fucking proprietary. So I don't care if you're going by the standard semantics, because when you went by the standard semantics, before that, prior to that, I already clarified what I meant. So it just seems like you're confused. And three, you keep fucking dodging the point that I want to go over the fucking recording to expose that you never gave an argument for what Julian asked, because you're just a retard. So also, just don't try the rhetoric shit in your next response. Hopefully you won't.
Okay, I think I see the issue now. I need you to stop playing Super Mario Bros. Okay, stop talking about papaya plants. Now, I'm hoping maybe you're not playing Super Mario Bros. While talking to me because maybe you'd be able to track the conversation better, or it's the case that you're trying to say proprietary. No, stop saying proprietary. That's not a real thing. So the other points that you attempted to make is just more dodges to the two questions that I offered, and so I'd like you to answer one of these two questions. And I realize that you're not going to answer either one of them, and you just want to move on. So at a certain point, I'm going to give up, and I'm going to let you run away from two questions, and then I'm going to move on to the other dumb fuck point that you have.
Listen, the issue in this conversation is you having corny rhetoric, and people are voting against you on polls again, like our last debate where you got 5-0 on polls because you're such a bad interlocutor. Because no one finds you rhetorical. Because each and time you try to get rhetorical, it's just something meaningless. Listen, Lucario, good people know when to mix the rhetoric with substance. You can't do either. And listen, I've already answered the question, and we know you're going to give up on the question because you're so weak willed and you can't enforce anything. You don't know how to control the conversation for your life. So listen, I'm just going to give a quick summary. I reduced the concept multiple times. You have a cognitive faculty that that fails to track it, and then you go over the standard semantics when I clarified what's proprietary there, and you have this corny Bros rhetoric. It just doesn't fucking work. I'm actually shocked. Listen, Lucario, if you had better performances, if you stuck to the substance, which I know you can, listen, just stick to the substance and you might have a chance. Because listen, no one finds you good. You are the entry level feat. Like everybody tries to debate Smurf you. Just stop. Just stick to the substance.
I can allow a couple of misspeaks, but like at a certain point, you need to pronounce yourself correctly. Okay, like it's proprietary. Okay, stop saying proprietary. Like I want you to actually try it. Okay, like English. I'm pretty sure English is your first language. I'm pretty sure you're able to pronounce your R's. I need you to just really lock in and make the conversation more understandable and more coherent. Because right now your substance is not doing that for you. So at least do it with your pronunciation. And then yeah, you can move on to another point. But I just want to be clear. You are actively dodging a semantic reduction on what you mean by deeper. It's not that hard. Any sort of low tier would be able to define what they meant by deeper account of teleology. Any low tier would be able to clarify what they meant when they were saying that, oh, you didn't give a metaphysically account of teleology. A lot of the times they could just admit that, hey, I actually used the wrong term. You don't have that kind of grace because you're bad faith and you're not willing to engage in a productive manner. But yeah, we can just move on. What's your next question?
Listen, it's just so funny how you want to do all that. You want to be bad faith in optics and then move on, which I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let you run away. And listen, all this psychoanalyzation doesn't work when you're getting blown the fuck out on the substance. And I don't know why you try to point out me misspeaking when you're docile and slow. You literally pause in multiple of your sentences and you stutter multiple times. So just don't do that. It sounds really bad when you do that. And listen, no one's dodging. I've already gave a summary multiple times and how the concept doesn't need to be broken down any further. That's fine. You got blown the fuck out by Ismason and goons, and typically from people who lose to them, it's indicative that they don't know what a primitive is, or they don't know anything about philosophy of language. Which I think we have a very strong inductive case for that being the case here, right? And my next point is a point that I've been bringing up, and you've refused to engage with it. Let's watch the recording and see if you gave a fucking argument for the proposition Julian asked. I guarantee you won't be able to. All right?
Okay, we finally got onto the other point. I don't really want to like stream a debate while a debate is being had. It's just weird for the recording.
The
But I can
debate
just
is
tell you,
over another debate,
just I
retard.
need you to, I need you to like
I'm
stop interjecting. I need you to stop interjecting. But yeah, I don't really want to do that, but I'm fine with doing it anyway. Or I could just tell you the argument that I offered, and then we can go back to the recording and then evaluate if the argument that I tell you has been given is actually given in the recording. Does that sound fine? Oh, he's server muted, by the way.
Notice how you didn't. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. You didn't even notice the person that you server muted was server muted. You actually have a lack of basic cognitive faculties. And I don't
No, no,
need
no,
to get
no. Hold
And
on,
I
hold
don't
on.
need to get.
Lucario,
Listen, he has
Lucario
a little
wasn't the
goon
person.
typing up.
Hold on.
Just calm
Lucario
down.
wasn't the
Stop.
person. Hold
Stop.
on, Luca.
Stop.
Hold on.
Stop. Stop.
I'm
But
correcting your
listen, I'm
first
just gonna
blunder. I'm
keep
correcting your
going the
first
fuck
blunder real
on.
quick. Okay.
Listen, I don't need to give a timestamp because I've said throughout the entire fucking recording you didn't give anything. So that's literally just 0 minutes to 25 minutes. You didn't give a single fucking argument in favor of that proposition.
Also, the debate's not just 25 minutes; it's longer than that. It's like 32 minutes. But yeah. So and also another thing. I didn't mute you. That was somebody else. I think maybe you didn't because I earlier you mentioned that you're only on Discord mobile, and I mean I'm not on Discord mobile super often. I usually just use my laptop. But maybe there's limitations to how many people can have, mute access on mobile. So I'm just gonna put that on. I'm just gonna put that on technology for you. Okay, I'm gonna suggest that you not being able to use Discord on PC led to the stupid conclusion that, or I should say, ignorant conclusion that I muted you, which it wasn't me. There are multiple people who have muting powers in the server. But yeah, first, before I tell you the argument, I'm going to ask if you accept the form, and if you would consider the form of dialogue that I offer as an argument. So the first form is like you give a hypothesis. A hypothesis makes predictions, and then those predictions correspond to reality. You could represent that as premise two, and then the first part is premise one. And then when those predictions correspond to reality, that raises the probability of the hypothesis. And then once you evaluate that, you have that set of premises, and then that just gets you to the conclusion that the
Uh,
probability of
uh.
the given hypothesis has been raised. Do you accept that a dialogue process
Yeah, I'm just gonna make
as
it
an
very clear
argument?
what I
Stop
thought.
interject. Stop interjecting. I'm going to ask you very clearly, and I want a yes or no to respond to this. You can add clarity before or after your yes or no response, but make sure that you answer yes or no to the question that I've just asked you. Go for it.
I'm obviously gonna evaluate on my answer, retard. Have you never heard of that? It's very clear Lucario is level one when it comes to debating because he doesn't know about evaluating when it comes to answers. So instead of you going on this ramble fest, I'm gonna clarify what I take on arguments to be as. So fortunately, I'm not a retard like you who only takes deductive arguments to be an argument because that's a typical blunder coming from people in your community. But what I take an argument to be is just multiple declarative statements. Okay, so we can just take that, and you know, we can see if you gave any fucking argument against Julian for the proposition he asked for.
Okay, so I mean, the first part is that you say, okay, well, obviously I'm going to evaluate it. You're a low tier who doesn't understand how, how debates work or dialects work. When I just clarified, the reason why I gave you two options is like you can give clarification before or after. I'm not saying that it's idiosyncratic or weird of you to give clarification in general. I'm just saying a lot of, and because you're not familiar with a lot of debates, a lot of people for some reason decide to press people on giving the yes or no answer before they give the clarification, which I take to be unnecessary. I don't have, much to be. It's my day off tomorrow. I'm sure me and you don't have to be like we don't have to like go to work like in a couple hours or anything. We can stay on Discord and get through a productive conversation. So for me, I don't really care if you give clarification before or after the yes or no response. In which you didn't really give a yes or no response. I can kind of use my headcanon and assume what you were going to say, and so that you mean that's just blunder number one. Okay, you misunderstanding the types of critiques that I'm levying, and you misunderstanding the types of offerings that I'm giving you. So I'd really like a yes or no to the question, and you can give clarification before or after. But before that, you made another dumb fuckery point. You said that I'm not like you and assume only deductive arguments. Well, I never said that only deductive arguments or only deductive processes are the types of arguments that are considered valid or considered even arguments. In fact, evidence for me believing the opposite is me giving you a dialogue process that is not a deductive argument. Okay, that didn't use an inference rule. That used more rules and probability. And I was asking, hey, do you accept this as an argument? Again, I want a yes or no. You can give clarification before or you can give clarification after. A lot of people are going to demand it's after, but I don't really care. You can ramble, you can try to do rhetoric. It's not really going to work because you're kind of bad at rhetoric, but I don't really care as long as there's a yes or no in your next response. Try not to fail this time.
Right. So I just want to clarify a majority of what you said almost qualified as going on a whole meta point. And two, I don't know why you try to call out my blunders while you stutter multiple times in your sentences. And listen, I never made the claim that you only take deductive arguments to be arguments. I said people in your community typically make that blunder. So then I clarified what an argument is so you can, then make the inference of what I take an argument to be. And if that was an argument, and I know you didn't track my definition of argument because every time I give a concept, you fail to track it. And listen, dumb fuck, I don't know if you know this, but you can translate induction to deduction. I hope your daddy ask yourself would like teach you that. Or Eric, since like Eric did like get you raped by synth on stage. And they say this shit a lot. So maybe you just need to learn. You need to go back to the basics. And you need to go back to losing to fucking Songbird.
Okay, just to be clear, you strongly implied that me specifically, was somebody who only takes deductive things to be arguments. You use the term me, or sorry, you, like quote unquote you, to reference me. Now you can use retroactive continuity, and you can say, okay, well, I was just talking about people in general, which you did a good job. You did mention other people, but you also mentioned me for some autistic reason. I need you to stop doing that. And so, yeah, me and you both agree that I do not use the term deductive to be necessary for an argument. Now, what I do offer is a dialogue process that I don't really consider inductive or deductive. It's more probabilistic based, which you can say is inductive, but it's not the type of inductive argument that are typically used. There's a lot of different types of inductive arguments, and this one would probably fall under one of the other niche kinds. Now, the type of argument that I presented, I still do not know to the second whether you consider that to be an argument or not, because I asked you two times now to give a yes or no response. Now, what you're going to do in your next turn to talk is you're either going to say yes or no and give clarification before and after with some rhetoric or some failed attempt at a rhetoric or whatever you want to try, or you're going to dodge it again, and then I'm going to have to ask you the question again, and then I'm going to demand a yes or no before we move on. Try not to fail this time, okay? Don't strike out this time.
Listen, the last bit you said of my rhetoric failing and then you stuttering It's just fucking karma, okay? Buddha himself is coming to assist me in this debate because I'm more virtuous than you. And listen, you said you don't take it to be induction, then you said you can grant that it is induction. So I just don't know. We're gonna be autistic. Listen, Lucario, no one in a debate wants to listen to you make weak claims and then just drop them, right? So don't make any fucking weak claims. Just go over claims that are actually gonna act towards the fucking inquiry, right? The goal of figuring out whether you got blown the fuck out by Julian, you retard. And listen, I grant that you don't know if it's a yes or no because you can't track. I gave my definition of an argument, right? So clearly that was an answer to the fucking question. So, Lucario, I'm not just gonna let you steamroll and just answer in any fucking format you'd like because you're such a sissy bitch. You don't impose any of your will on me because you're so unrhetorical. So listen, I gave my definition. You gave your argument. You granted that it was fucking induction. And you made a weak claim to instantly drop so you can pivot like a sophist. And then you try to make fun of my rhetoric and then stumbled over yourself like a retard. You're getting blown the fuck out, and everyone thinks that besides your little goon.
Okay, I just want to be clear. The first thing that I said is that I wouldn't really call it deductive or inductive, and I do clarify that. Okay, well, there are other types of like niche types of induction because you're probably because I just realized who I was talking to. I was talking to an idiot who's like very philosophically illiterate, and can only go after stutters because that's the only thing that he can possibly be successful on, even though my opponent stutters as much. So yeah, I clarified that. Okay, well, there are also other types of like niche types of induction. Because you're not familiar with a lot of these types of induction, I'm sure it would fall under one of these. But generally speaking, I just wouldn't really call it inductive. Okay, I'm not saying that. Okay, well, the sun rose today. I'm not saying the sun rose tomorrow, and then the next day, and so it's probably going to raise this way. That's a method of raising the inductive power of it. Now, this has the property of raising the inductive power of it. Now, if you want to call that an inductive argument, you can do that. But I just want to be clear, you might have to be careful because an idiot like you is not familiar with a lot of the types of inductive arguments that there are. It wouldn't be familiar with a lot of the objections to the validity of those types of arguments. So I had to clarify a bunch for you because I remembered in the back of my head, you're kind of an idiot. You also make another point. You say that, okay, well, I'm attacking like just rhetoric, or you say that, I didn't even like infer the yes or no, even though I told you that it was really my first response to the yes or no question. Um, I said I could use my headcanon and guess what you mean when you give a response or when you give a definition. I could use my headcanon and guess whether you're gonna try to imply a yes or no. But I want a succinct answer this time because I realize that implications and social cue awareness, those are not things that are applicable with you because you're like a 1-year-old playing Pac-Man. You're just going in all directions even though there's a ghost about to hit you. Okay? I can't make these kind of inferences on my own. I need you to be more succinct. Go for it.
Yeah, listen, we didn't need you to repeat the fucking claim you made last time just for you to have the meta dialogue to concede the proposition again. Listen, each and every time we go over this point, you're gonna say, "Well, I don't really think it's induction," and then you're gonna fucking concede that it is induction because you're so fucking bad. Listen, Lucario, next time, don't give a meta dialogue about how you don't grant something and then grant it. That looks really fucking bad optically. And listen, I only go after stutters because you try to go after my stutters. And I just find that very fucking hypocritical. So I want to point out the bad faith optics that you do constantly to everyone. And listen, we're just going to take you not being able to make inferences as a swing and a fucking miss because I've already gave my definition. I will always reduce down my concepts and you will always fail to track. It's like I'm speaking to, I don't know. It's just like I'm speaking to someone who has some inability. It might be just some robust property about you. It might just be analytically true that you're a dumb fuck. And notice how my jabs are philosophical while your jabs are about some fucking franchise of media because you have no fucking intelligence whatsoever. You're not apt to have these conversations.
Okay. No, again, you keep saying that I conceded, even though I added clarity on what I meant when I say that it's not inductive, because I was operating under the most common account of, or most common, type of inductive argument, where I'm not taking some data, I'm not using like a pattern recognition to get to the conclusion. I'm not using pattern recognition to raise the inductive power. That's what I assume you mean by inductive, because you're a dumb fuck who doesn't understand a lot of niche types of inductive arguments. I've already clarified this to you 3 times. Now, what I want you to do after this is I want you to repeat the response that I gave here. I want you to respond to, or I want you to repeat what I mean by inductive, okay? And then we can get clarity for you. as to how I did not contradict myself and I did not concede at all. You also say that, oh, I already did answer the question, but at this point, I genuinely don't think that you even remember the question. You keep saying that your semantic reduction of deductive, you keep saying, or argument, you keep saying that that answers my question, even though it doesn't. I said I can use my headcanon and I can try to infer what you're trying to get at in the form of a yes or no. But again, you don't have the ability to be that succinct. I can't rely on social cues like that. So at this point, I don't even remember. I don't even think you remember the question that I've offered. So yeah, you have two jobs here. I need you to repeat the types of induction that I'm talking about and the types of induction that I am not considering it to be inductive. Um, and then I guess another task, and this would just be like bonus points for you. I want you to explain to me how my argument and the type of argument that I used actually does raise the inductive power. That's the first job. You don't have to do all of it. At least do the first part where you repeat my criteria in which it's not inductive. The second part I want you to do is I want you to repeat the question, the initial question, because at this point, you thinking that a semantic reduction of argument is going to confirm a yes or no, that's false. You don't remember the question. You're an idiot.
Listen, nice stutter at the end there. But listen, you conceded. Yes, you did. You grant it's induction. You grant it's inductive, right? So listen, I don't need for you to go over the fucking proposition once again and talk about how you're going over your semantics when once clarity sought, all things considered, you do grant that it's inductive, retard. So listen, since we've already sought clarity on this, you concede it's inductive. Just stop trying to be a retarded fucking meta debater. And I like how you blundered saying I gave a reduction of the term deductive when I didn't give a reduction of the term deduction. I gave a reduction of the term fucking argument, retard, to clarify because I know you're fucking lost. And you didn't get the reduction because you can't track. Because listen, every time I give it a reduction, you just don't fucking track it, and you go on about a thing that's either never said or horrible fucking misinterpretation because you're epistemically unvirtuous.
All right, this is the second time I'm going to press you on this. I want you to repeat exactly how and why I say that it's not inductive. Then I want, and this is bonus points, you don't have to do this, but I want you to at least explain how the argument form that I presented actually does raise the inductive power of it. Those are distinct things, okay? The second part is repeat the question. You think that a semantic reduction of the term arguments is sufficient for a yes or no response. That's not the case. You're an idiot who does not remember the question. Repeat the question.
Listen, I don't know why you're asking me to do these things when clarity is sought on inductivity and you grant this thing is inductive. So I'm just not going to do that. I've already clarified why I'm not going to do that. And you just and each time I clarify why I'm not going to do that, it flies over your head. It's like you're trying to do some bad fucking steamroll and you can't even steamroll properly because you don't have the fucking capacity to control the conversation because you're so unrhetorical. But listen, Lucario, I'll just repeat what I said so you can finally get it because I just need to repeat myself over and over because you can't grasp general concepts. It's like you're unable to wrap your head around any given proposition. But listen, all things considered, you would grant that this is induction. Once clarity sought, you would grant that this is induction. And what you're going to do again is you're going to go over your fucking semantics and then grant, all else even, this is fucking induction. When we seek clarity, when we agree on what we're fucking talking about, this is induction. So Lucario, I don't need you to shadowbox again. I need you to fucking go over the recording, like I've been saying, and the point you said we're gonna move on to, but then you just want to fucking dodge because you're a retard. Okay? And I've already given the reduction of the term argument. You don't track. And I think it's generous, right? For me to reduce my terms multiple times and then once a dumb fuck just doesn't get it, I just don't break it down any further, right? Like I'm pretty sure the crowd can agree. That's pretty generous. That's pretty charitable. But Lucario can go on his autistic ramble now.
Okay, yeah, for the third time now, I want you to repeat to me how and why I say that it's not an inductive argument. Then I want you to explain to me, okay, well, here's how it does in fact raise the inductive power in the form of an argument. You're not going to do these things, and because I realize that you don't even remember, well, I realized a long time ago, but I realized that you actually really need help. So I'm just going to tell you how, then you're going to just step by step repeat what I say. It's not inductive in the sense that it does not take pattern recognition to get to a conclusion, raising its probability. That's not what it does. Now, it does raise the inductive prowess of the argument via some other niche brand of inductive argument that I'm sure it could occupy. Um, so that's the first part, and then the second part is, well, hey, you don't remember the question. Now, like I kind of want to tell you the question again, but a part of me kind of wants to see if you can maybe think back a little bit further and try to remember the question. I don't want to give up just yet. I don't want to give you the answer just yet, like I did with the last one. The last one should be super easy, and I'm not sure why you're going to dodge that one. But you keep on saying that your account of what an argument is sufficient for the question, which it's not. I need you to be very succinct. And also, when I asked you to be succinct, that does not include like using the term steamroll property when you meant to say steamroll properly. You keep attacking stutters, but stutter almost more than me.
You are such a retard. When I keep attacking stutters, it's because that's what you tried to do initially. Okay? I'm just pointing out you being a hypocrite and you're trying to do that to me, but it doesn't work when you're the one fucking starting it, retard. I don't know how you try to fucking do that. But listen, I agree you don't want to give me the question because you're so bad faith and you have no rhetorics and this is bad optics. And listen, Lucario, I already know the question. So even if we were to grant that you're bad optically and it's some sort of rhetoric, it just wouldn't work. Um, I'm just not gonna do any of what you ask because listen, Lucario, you keep on fucking repeating this like a retard. I'm just gonna make this very clear. Okay. Lucario agrees it's inductive. He then goes on a meta dialogue and then concedes that it's inductive. And he just wants me to fill some criteria for to make sure I know what induction is. But that doesn't matter if he grants that it's induction. It's just this guy trying to get his fucking meta point on a meta debate, and he's trying to make himself look good rhetorically. But no one thinks he does remotely good in this fucking conversation ever. And he's never done good in any conversation with me.
Can you at least like give me a couple of different accounts of inductive argument? Like I've made one very, very clear. In fact, don't even give me multiple accounts of an inductive argument. Give me the account of an inductive argument, the most standard account that I've been repeating to you the process of this entire time, or at least for a very, very long time now. Hopefully you can track that much.
And you just asked me to do unnecessary shit again when you concede that it's induction. You're just trying to get your dunks in now, but your dunks don't work because they're based off of bad optics. You got blown out, and if we're gonna, go in this circle, which you don't succeed in, we can conclude. Anubis can send the recording. I can upload it. You got blown the fuck out. You got dispatched.
Oh, don't
Lucario,
don't run
I just
away
want to
this fast. No,
preface.
no,
Wait, wait,
please don't run away this
wait.
fast.
I'm
Are
not
you
finished.
running?
I'm not
Oh, your
finished. I'm
closing
not finished.
statement?
I'm not finished.
Go
I'm not
for it,
finished. I'm
man.
not finished. I'm not finished. Okay, anyways, I just want to preface Lucario. I don't have any problems with you as a person. I just think I bleed the fuck out. I think I'm like a tier above you, but we're still buds. You just got intellectually fucking molested in this conversation, okay?